A monkey invented something her descendants still use 70 years later. What she discovered shouldn't have been possible according to every animal behavior textbook written before 1953. Her name was Imo. She was an 18-month-old Japanese macaque living on Koshima Island off the southern coast of Japan. And on one ordinary afternoon in September 1953, she did something no wild animal had ever been documented doing. She invented a technology. Then taught it to others. Then died while that technology kept spreading for 7 decades without her. Scientists from the Kyoto University Primate Research Institute had been studying Imo's troop since 1948. They were feeding the monkeys sweet potatoes on the beach. Standard primate observation stuff. The monkeys would grab the dirty potatoes and eat them covered in sand and grit. Every single monkey did this. Except Imo. Researchers watched her pick up a sandy sweet potato, walk to the ocean, and deliberately wash it in the salt water. She rubbed the potato between her hands, rinsed it in the waves, then ate it clean. The scientists couldn't believe what they were seeing. This wasn't instinct. This was invention. But here's what nobody expected. Within 3 months, Imo's mother started washing potatoes. Then her playmates. Then their families. By 1962, exactly 36 of the 59 monkeys in Imo's troop had learned potato washing. But the pattern of spread revealed something that made anthropologists deeply uncomfortable. The behavior didn't spread randomly. It moved through social networks like a human fashion trend. Young monkeys learned it fastest. Adults over 12 years old almost never adopted it. Males who left the troop to join new groups carried the technique with them like cultural ambassadors. This was the first time anyone had documented the spread of a learned behavior through a wild animal population with such precision. Lead researcher Kinji Yamanishiro called it pre-cultural behavior. His colleague Masao Kawai documented every single instance. The data was irrefutable. These monkeys were teaching each other. But Imo wasn't finished inventing. In 1956, researchers started throwing wheat grains on the beach instead of sweet potatoes. The grains mixed with sand. Impossible to separate by hand. Every monkey struggled. They'd pick up tiny amounts of wheat mixed with grit. Painstaking. Inefficient. Imo watched this for 2 weeks. Then she walked to the ocean carrying a handful of wheat and sand. And threw it into the water. The sand sank. The wheat floated. She skimmed the clean wheat off the surface and ate it. She had invented flotation separation. A technique that humans developed independently for grain processing. Within 4 years, 19 monkeys in her troop used wheat washing. The researchers were now watching something unprecedented. Not just one innovation, but cumulative culture. Innovation building on innovation. Imo died in 1972 at age 20. But what happened next is what changed everything scientists thought they knew about animal minds. Her innovations didn't die with her. Not even close. By 1980, every single infant born in the troop learned potato washing before age 3. Not through trial and error. Through direct observation of their mothers. This was vertical cultural transmission. Parent to child. Exactly like human knowledge transfer. Generation after generation. The behavior became so embedded that researchers started calling it protoculture. But that term made a lot of scientists very angry. Here's what nobody saw coming. The washing technique started evolving. By 1985, some monkeys were dunking their potatoes multiple times. Others were using freshwater pools instead of saltwater. Young females started adding a new step. They'd take a bite. Dunk the bitten potato. Take another bite. Making it saltier with each dip. They were seasoning their food. Researchers documented at least 8 distinct variations of the original washing technique by 1990. Each variation clustered in different family groups. Like regional dialects. The Kyoto University team had now been observing for 42 years. They had 4 decades of data on a single innovation spreading through 30 generations. No other wild animal study had anything close to this timeline. Dr. Franz de Waal, a primatologist at Emory University, visited Koshima in 1994. He later wrote that watching these monkeys was like watching a grandfather clock that Imo had wound in 1953 still ticking perfectly 41 years later. But the true test came in 2011. The Tohoku earthquake and tsunami hit Japan on March 11th. Koshima Island was damaged. The research station was destroyed. The regular feeding schedule stopped for 8 months. When researchers returned in November 2011, they were terrified. Had the cultural chain broken? Would the monkeys remember? They threw sweet potatoes on the beach. Every single adult monkey immediately walked to the water and washed them. But here's the part that made researchers' hands shake as they filmed. 3 infants born during the 8-month gap with 0 human contact had already learned the technique from their mothers. In complete isolation. No researchers. No regular feeding. Just mothers teaching daughters teaching daughters. The cultural transmission had become completely self-sustaining. Dr. Tetsuro Matsuzawa from Kyoto University called it the longest documented case of non-human cumulative culture on Earth. But what they discovered next about how the monkeys were teaching each other was far more disturbing than anyone expected. Researchers set up high-speed cameras in 2013 to capture exactly how mothers taught their infants. What they recorded made primatologists across the world reconsider the definition of teaching. Mother macaques were using a technique called opportunity teaching. When an infant reached for a dirty potato, mothers would deliberately stop eating. They'd pick up a potato, walk slowly to the water while glancing back at the infant, wash the potato with exaggerated motions, then return to the infant and let them take the washed potato. This wasn't passive observation. This was active demonstration with pedagogical intent. The mothers were modifying their behavior specifically to facilitate learning. In 2015, researchers tested something radical. They introduced a new food that was difficult to process: whole unshelled peanuts. The adult monkeys who'd learned to shell nuts from humans immediately started teaching their infants. Same method. Deliberate demonstration. Slowed motion. Glancing back to confirm attention. One mother named Nami was filmed 47 times over 3 months teaching her daughter Momo to shell peanuts. Nami would crack a peanut, show the kernel to Momo, give it to her, then hand Momo an uncracked peanut and wait. If Momo struggled for more than 20 seconds, Nami would take it back and demonstrate again. On the 48th attempt, Momo successfully shelled a peanut alone. Nami immediately groomed her for 90 seconds. Positive reinforcement. This was no longer protoculture. This was teaching indistinguishable from human pedagogical behavior. Dr. Lydia Lunch from the Max Planck Institute studied the footage and identified something even more shocking. The teaching method itself was being refined across generations. Mothers born after 1990 used more exaggerated demonstrations than mothers born in the 1970s. The pedagogy was evolving, getting more efficient. The culture had become recursive. They weren't just teaching potato washing. They were improving how they taught potato washing. In 2019, a young male named Roku invented a new technique. He started using rocks to smash open hard-shelled crabs. Within 14 months, 11 monkeys used rock tools. In 2021, a female named Hannah modified Roku's technique. She started selecting flatter rocks that worked better. As of 2023, all 23 infants in the current Koshima troop wash their food. All use variations of flotation for grains. 8 use rock tools. And researchers have now documented 73 distinct learned behaviors in this single population. Emo's legacy is now 70 years old and still evolving. Her invention has been passed through 30 generations without interruption. The monkeys on Koshima Island possess something that existed only in humans until 1953. Cumulative culture. Innovation that builds on previous innovation. Knowledge that transcends the individual. Teaching that improves across generations. Dr. Andrew Whiten from the University of St. Andrews has called Emo the most important animal in the history of cultural evolution research. Because she proved that the gap between human and animal culture is not a canyon. It's a crack. And we're standing on the edge looking at our reflection. The unsettling question that Emo's potato washing raises is this: if a single monkey can accidentally start a cultural tradition that survives 70 years and 30 generations, what traditions in human society started just as randomly and meaninglessly, but we now treat as sacred? What behaviors are we passing to our children simply because someone 70 years ago did it once and it spread? The monkeys on Koshima don't know why they wash their food. They just know their mothers did. And their grandmothers. And their great-great-great-grandmothers. They're following a tradition started by a genius they never met. Emo's innovation changed what we thought was uniquely human. But it revealed something darker. That culture and tradition might not require understanding. Just repetition. Just survival. Just mothers teaching daughters across decades until everyone forgets why it started. If you want to see where this leads, watch what happens when the ocean level rises and swallows the beaches where these monkeys learned to wash food for 70 years. Because that question is no longer hypothetical. And what comes after a tradition when the world that created it disappears is a story these monkeys are about to write. Whether we're ready to read it or not. Send this to someone who needs to hear it. Then subscribe for a new dark truth every day.